Hi guys, welcome to Crafter's Corner, and this is Arjita, and we'll be altering a teapot which I brought from my mother's house, and she really keeps her stuff very carefully, and this guy must be at least 25 to 30 years old. I wanted to alter it in a very shabby kind of a style, and I'll gift it back to her so that she can flaunt it and store it. So let's begin. I started by painting the entire teapot with gesso, and I dried it with my heated tool. Next, I'll be adding a lot of tissue paper. It's by Holtz, and a beautiful printed musical notes and butterflies. I'll adhere it with Mod Podge over the entire surface, and it'll add a lot of beauty and texture to the teapot. Once it was dry, I just gave it a light wash of gesso again. I mixed gesso with water and give it a quick wash. This gives the design a very subtle impression, and the design just becomes like a background, and it is not very prominent. I am using my craft mat for all these things, and it is the world's best palette to work on. This is an amazing surface which can take your heat, uh, glue, paint, inks, everything, and it is so easy to clean up. It's just a baby wipe and everything is gone. I'm setting this gesso again with my heat tool, and then we'll be ready to add the colors and textures again. I'm gonna add some color using the Prima chalk edges, and I chose a light brown, and just adding little color over all these areas where I feel some aging can be replicated. All over the curves and corners and handle. I just want to make this teapot look very antique and feminine and shabby. So I'll be adding tons of shades of blues, greens and pinks towards the end of the process, and let's see how does it turn up. At this point, I'm using a baby wipe to blend the same chalk color into those areas where my ink pad cannot get in. It's very easy to blend this kind of a color with a baby wipe, and it acts as a beautiful tool. When I was making this, my little doggy, my pug, was very excited, and she just wanted to see what am I making, and she was right there at the craft table. So as I told you, the craft mat is a very unique surface, and it can take all the dirt, gum, glue, everything. And so this little creature also wanted to check it out. She's just not ready to get down. So finally, she's left me and my craft supplies all alone, and we are back to a project. I'm going to add some Inca gold, vintage gold on my project. This will make it look more Victorian and feminine. I'm just checking it out at the bottom, and it is an amazingly beautiful stuff. I was not sure how to go ahead with this, and so I mixed a little water and just started adding it at all the edges of the teapot top, and the cap of the teapot. It was very easy to use a brush and to add this color, and it dries super quick. I wanted to make some fine lines as we see in the Victorian pottery, and I was quite happy with what I did. Though in my final project it is not really very visible, but yeah, there is a subtle impression of the Winker gold here and there. As you see, again I'm mixing the Inca Gold, which is kind of a thick paint, on my craft mat, and here I started picking it up with a makeup blending tool, sponge kind of a thing, and it was very easy to give a very airbrushed kind of a impression on the teapot. I have used it to add the distress paints or distress inks also, and it was very easy. This particular thing is very easily available also, and the blending was amazing. Now I started adding the two blues of the distress ink line. The first one is cracked pistachio and the other one is broken china. They're pretty colors of blue-green tone, and with the same sponge I just started adding it here and there. This is almost done, and all we need to add is a little tinge of red. I chose worn lipstick as my color, and with the same sponge I added it at few spots, and it just jazzed up the entire project and made it absolutely gorgeous and feminine. Red, blue and green will be my major colors for the embellishments also, and a little cream white colored flowers and butterflies and leaves. I'm going to add a lot of bling, laces, skeleton flowers, handmade flowers by Heartfelt creations, and some charms by our store, and I'm sure you're going to love the project. I'll be using my hot glue gun to adhere all the embellishments, blings and flowers onto the surface. While using the heat gun, I always want to wear an exceptionally useful tool by Mod Podge, and it helps me protect my fingers. The pink thing which you see on my fingers is available at our store, and it is a must-have for all those people who use hot glue gun. Now we start with the part 2 of a project, and I am using a Versamark ink to stamp the image, and I'll be heat embossing it with a ultra fine white embossing powder. Use the heated tool to melt the embossing powder, and we know it's done the moment it becomes shiny and glossy. Heat embossing was very essential for this easy coloring style. I'll be using distress ink pads to color the flowers and the area where the embossing powder is present will be resisted and beautiful subtle flowers will be created. I'll be using the die by Heartfelt Creations to cut out the flowers, and for this I have to create a template so that I can line up my stamped image in a perfect way with the die. Once the template is created, I'll just position it over the embossed image, and I'll try to line it up at the place, at the edges, and then just shut it down and run it through my big shot. All the flowers will be cut together and we'll be ready to color them. Here the flowers are ready, and they popped out of the die very easily. And now I'll be using 2 shades of distress ink, and I'll also be using a third shade of green, peeled paint, just to add a little tinge of green at the top of few flowers. I dabbed the ink pad directly on the craft mat, and with the help of a water brush I'll just pick it up, pick the color and fill it very quickly. This is a super quick way of coloring the flowers, and mass production is absolutely easy, super, and the way they look after drying is so beautiful that I mean, people will wonder, how did you create them? Once the flowers were dry, I molded them with my ball stylus and created a layered effect. I created few 3-layered flowers, and some of them were 2-layered. I used a very basic molding technique, and I'm not a very huge fan of the very complex ways of molding flowers. This was very quick and easy. With the help of a heat gun, I stuck the layers on top of each other, and then the flowers were ready. I wanted to add a little glitter, and I took this glass glitter by Prima, added a little Aleen's tacky glue at the center of the flowers, and sprinkled this beautiful glitter at the center. The effect it created was just wow, and I did the same steps for all the tiny flowers as well as the big flowers. I allowed them to dry, and once they were all ready, I started adhering them on my project. Here are the flowers, and I wanted to create some nice leaves. The white and the skeleton ones are very trendy these days, and I die cut few of them in white cardstock. Once all my embellishments and handmade embellishments were ready, I started adhering them on my teapot. I used a hot glue gun to do that, and here is the final arrangement. I also used some metallic embellishments. It's written altered there. It was lying with me since long, and this was the project it was meant to go on. I also hung a little charm there, few sprigs of pearls, butterflies, and a cute ribbon. This is the most important and the most beautiful area of my teapot. It's a beautiful bling. One of my friends, Malika, everybody knows her. She is the shabby chic queen. She had sent me this, and that was really sweet of her. I added it here, and that's it. This is the final project. Hope you like it, and I'll give this project a final spin. Thank you so much for watching.